They love them. This is good for them. It's a chaos narrative, which they think works for them because they think they can pin it on Trump. But Trump's not dumb enough to fall for it. Trump's pinning it back on them because these are Democrat cities and everybody knows it. Interesting article, Legal Insurrection. Great one, as a matter of fact. The media, the media that lies, then lies about lying. And then when caught lying, lies about being caught about lying, and then goes on and lies about that. You know that media. Yeah, that one. They're oddly silent, the media, as virus case numbers are rising in Portland and Seattle by the great Stacey Matthews, Legal Insurrection. Article will be up in the show notes today. Please check it out. Fascinating. Which, again, quadruples and quintuples down on my point that, what, Joe? The media only cares about the coronavirus when the coronavirus doesn't impact their pre-existing more important narrative. And their pre-existing more important narrative now is there's street chaos everywhere and it's Donald Trump's fault. Don't stop it. Shh. Let's keep it going. The chaos till after the election. And then after the election, there'll be no chaos anymore. It'll all disappear because the media won't cover it at all. So just to be clear, the media, the lib media, to be clear, is enjoying this street chaos because they think it's a damaging political narrative to Donald Trump. You tracking? It's not. That Trump is trying to stop it. It's actually working in his favor, but no one's ever accused the media of being smart. But so you understand here, they think they can leverage this street chaos into an election victory for Joe Biden by saying, look, the country's in flames because of Donald Trump. So they don't want it to stop. So when things like the coronavirus start rampaging through cities where these riots are happening and these mostly peaceful protests, which is becoming just an embarrassingly hilarious line by the media. Only 17 stabbed in a mostly peaceful protest last night, Joe. Only 47 police officers injured in a mostly peaceful protest. Only $50,000 in property damage in a mostly peaceful protest. Only 6 officers blinded in a mostly peaceful protest. It's an embarrassment. But the media only cares about the coronavirus when they can use it to damage Trump. And when it conflicts with another narrative that's more important, we got to keep the chaos going, they suppress stories about the coronavirus. So Stacey Matthews who wrote this piece. It's up at my show notes, bongino.com/newsletter. If you'd like to subscribe to the newsletter show notes, it's the same thing. Read this article. It's a great one. And in there, she has, you can see screenshots of some of her tweets. Stacey Matthews, who wrote the piece, who does really good work. You hearing about this in the media, Joe? So let's put up Stacey Matthews' tweet number 1. You know, all these riots that are happening in Seattle and Portland. Are you hearing anything about this? So here's her first tweet where she notes an interesting phenomenon from the New York Times' own Oregon page. She says, quote, this graphic is from the New York Times Oregon page. You can see how cases have steadily risen since early mid-June. This is Oregon, where the protests are happening. You know, Portland, it's in Oregon. For the liberals checking us out for the first time. You see that? There's a chart there. And Joe, it shows an interesting trend going up. That's up, like the opposite of down. Now, keep in mind, you may see this on the Oregon page because they can't avoid it, but where have you heard this in the national media? Like, hey, maybe we should get a hold of these riots because, you know, coronavirus and all, you're not allowed to get a haircut. You're not allowed to go to church. You're not allowed to see your grandmother, but definitely you should riot. You know, rioting, because it has nothing to do with coronavirus. Well, that's not what that chart shows. That chart clearly shows Oregon cases going up. You see that?
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, Joe, because liberals always have a BS line because they don't know what they're talking about, and not all liberals, but a good portion are largely morons. I'm very sorry, folks. If that offends you, you're probably listening to the wrong show. I'm done playing nicey nice. I told my friend this yesterday. You want nicey nice, cutesy stuff? I'm sorry. This isn't for you. I don't mean to offend anyone. I love having people here. I love my audience. But this show, we're done nicey nice time. Nicey nice time, go to a different show. I'm not the nicey nice guy. That's a different guy who's not me. You know Dan Bongino? That's the not Dan Bongino. But knowing liberals and their lies and media hacks who lie about lying and then lie about knowing they got caught lying, what do you think their line will be, Joe? Well, those are just cases in Oregon, Dan.
Yeah.
Oregon, not Portland. Portland's, you know, a small place in Oregon. Oregon's a rather large state. Okay, well, Stacey Matthews did that too because, you know, you always have to be prepared for liberal stupidity. Here's tweet number 2. This graphic, also from the Times Oregon page, shows that the case breakdown by individual counties. Over the last 7 days, the counties with the highest number of total cases are forgive me if I'm saying this wrong, Multnomah, I'm sorry, Portlanders, where Portland is located, and Washington, which is next to the county where Portland is located. Again, you have to prepare always, Joe, for liberal stupidity. They'll say, well, yeah, cases in Oregon are spiking and protests are in Oregon, but we don't know if it's attributable to that exact area in Portland. No, it is. That's where the most cases are, in that county where Portland is. Do you see that? Charts. Liberal. We believe in science. You do? You believe in data too? Liberals, the science party, right? The science party told you there's 7,426 genders. That thinks the coronavirus doesn't impact people in protests, but will definitely spread in your church, especially if it's a Christian church. That, those guys, the science guys, you know why I laugh at these idiots? Because they're not, this is real. They really do want you to believe they're the party of science, despite science absolutely destroying their stupid narratives. You haven't heard about this, have you? About how the virus is... We did hear something. That's right. We did hear something. That's accurate, Joe. We haven't heard that effect at all. That is the crickets you're hearing from the media describing the explosion in cases around the riots in Portland. You may say, because again, you have to know liberals, folks. Liberals are liars. That's what they do. Not all of them, but a good swath of them are just liars. They'll say, well, that's isolated to that one area because of like aliens or something, whatever. More on that tomorrow, by the way. Right? I have no time today. So,
Yeah.
Well, let's go to Seattle, where some more riots are happening. And again, Stacey Matthews' Twitter feed, which is really great on this. Here's another graphic from the Times Washington State page showing the rising case numbers in the state of Washington. Washington, libs, where Seattle is. And in case you're listening on audio only, it's not complicated. The cases are going up. Again, for the liberals on the radio dial listening and listening digitally, that means the opposite of down. Means coronavirus cases are rising. Now, you may say, well, maybe they already forgot about the Portland example. The liberals will say, what, Joe? That's definitely not in Seattle. It's just statewide, but not in Seattle where the riots are happening. Okay, let's check that out too. Here's the county by county breakdown. Over the last 7 days, the counties with the highest number of total new cases are King, where Seattle's located, and Pierce, which is next to King. You didn't hear that anywhere? You're not hearing that anywhere, are you? The national media, MSDNC, CNN, are they reporting on this? How the riots are causing a rampaging coronavirus infections? You're not hearing any of that, right? Because they love the riots. They love them. This is good for them. It's a chaos narrative, which they think works for them because they think they can pin it on Trump. But Trump's not dumb enough to fall for it. Trump's pinning it back on them because these are Democrat cities and everybody knows it.
You just heard Dan Bongino.